Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your favorite hillbilly here, out here in the dark. It's like I like it. There's a little bit of light. Going to hop on here. It's been a while. I'm gonna hop on here and tell y'all a little story too. Do some catching up with y'all. Been working on something. To tell y'all about. So I hope y'all been doing good. I miss talking to y'all in the comments. I enjoy talking to y'all on the live streams when we get on there. Everybody's live stream. I enjoy hearing from y'all and talking to you. And if I don't say your name or type your name, mine moves so fast and I can't see. I'm not really sure what some of it is. You know, somebody's got a long tag on their name stuff, so don't be mad at me for it. But I'm gonna get around, talk to y'all about a few things. First thing foremost, let's talk about money and people, asking for money on their channel. Now, I've had some of y'all tell me that I should be monetized and try to make some money off my channel and off my stories. And really, that wouldn't be fair to you all. I didn't have to pay for these stories. They was handed down to me, and I don't do enough video content to charge anybody anything for my stories. They're free, and I don't have anything against people trying to support what they do. Now, some of these people who go out here with boots on the ground, I'm talking like Hellbent Holler and Martin Nunley, and some of these people, they work everyday jobs, and it's not cheap or free to go out here and try to put together a video for everybody to enjoy. And I guess if I did something like they did and I was out here, I'd have to have some help too. So I'm nothing against any of them at all. I'm all for that. If every subscriber that they had would give $1, what kind of equipment they could have, to watch what kind of videos we'd get from them. But anyways, I don't plan on charging for my stuff. It's like I say, the stories was given to me free, and I figure I'll just pass them on down to you all for free. So get that out of the way. Next thing, I'm really going to bring some hate down on myself when I tell this next part. I'm leery about giving out the last names because these people were known as good people around here in the community, great people, and they still, that legacy that they left behind still stands. They were impeccable people, great people. But my wife, her mom married into that family. Her stepdad was a Walker, and I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you all have heard of the Walker sisters. I actually done a video from their cabin. But the story that everybody knows on the Walker sisters, I think it was 5 sisters, and the park moved in on that family, and they allowed them to continue out their days living there, until they was all gone, and then the park would take over their little cabin. And you can see them if you Google the Walker sisters on YouTube or search it on YouTube. They'll pop up, and you'll see how primitive they lived and stuff. Well, and I'm not trying to tarnish their names by no means. So before people start drawing hate down on me, I'm not doing that. But I've been talking to some of the Walker family, and some people that were related to them and knew them. I think they all died out in the 60s, I believe. I could be wrong. Maybe it was early 70s. But I got to finding out if you go up to their cabin, it's like a 1-mile hike, and it's flat, and I recommend it. It's one of the few flat hikes that we have here in the Smokies, and if my wife can make it, anybody can. But it goes back in the woods and goes to their cabin. But when you get to their cabin, if you'll notice, there's a trail that keeps going straight. You hang a right turn and you walk up and there's their cabin. Well, there's a trail and it looks dark and dingy just looking at it, but it goes on straight. Now, I've never seen nobody go out that trail. All the times I've hiked up there, I've never went out it. Maybe just a little ways and turned around. But I think the trail eventually will come around to Mount LeConte. It goes out through there and spider webs out. But here's the kind of scary part. What I've been told, researching, and I'm going to get back with y'all. I'm going to tell this whole story when I get done with it. One of the Walker sisters would go out this trail, and supposedly something started communicating with her in these woods. And from what I gather, she thought that this was something grand, and she would come back and tell the other sisters about it. And I'm not sure if this actually started when her mother and father was alive or if it's after they were dead. All I know is she would come back and tell her family about it, and I need to find out more. But that she would tell them there's something out there and it's really grand. It will communicate with you and talk with you. And they asked her what it was, and she told them it was the fog. It was the mist, the smoke in the Great Smoky Mountains. And they thought she was kind of crazy. Some of them believed her. Some of them thought she was losing it. And then the rest of them told her she better quit that. She better stay away from that. Well, as time went on, that trail was worn pretty good. It still is to this day. You can see it. But as time went on, the rumors got, saying that maybe she started practicing maybe some of the dark arts. Maybe she didn't. I don't know. Nobody knows 100% for sure. But over the years, they kept this quiet. She would go out through that trail by herself. Sometimes she would stay gone all day. Sometimes she'd stay gone day and half the night. And then, from what I'm being told now, it stopped. She stopped going. Something happened. Something absolutely terrified her. And she got to coming back and telling her other sisters how terrifying this thing was out there, that she thought was something friendly turned out to be something very malicious. And now I'm going to finish investigating this story and talking to these people who's telling me this. I've had to promise a lot of things that I wouldn't tell. I almost didn't even get to tell you the name of the people, but you can Google their cabin, the Walker sisters, and like I say, you can search it on YouTube. And I did do a video from their cabin back probably a year or so ago. But yeah, the stuff I've been finding out about this is very odd and very strange. Supposedly this thing, whatever it was, it got to where it would come down the trail to their cabin, out of the mountains, and down to their cabin. And they would hear it scratching on the walls, and they would hear it call all of their names to come outside. It would mock their mom and dad's voice, who later had passed on. Whatever this was, it was terrible, and they wouldn't tell anybody about it. Almost anybody. There's a few people who know. But yeah, that's quite a terrifying story. And the thing is, if you Google it and you watch it on YouTube, the tourists would go up there in these ladies' last days, and they would fix these tourists something to eat and have them come in and visit with them just like they'd known them all their life, And it's odd that this was going on in their life, and nobody knew about it. Very strange and very odd. And I'm going to do a little research, some more research, and find out exactly the story of what happened with all this and where it went to. And I'd like to find out exactly which sister that it was. I'm wanting to think that it was the youngest. But like I say, I'll get back with you all on this and do a little more research. And I'm going to have people coming down on me saying, don't you start on the Walker sisters. They're good people. And they were great, and they were outstanding people. You know, just cause you get curious and you go out in the woods and you start looking around doesn't make you a bad person at all. We're all curious. We all want to know. Well, that being said, let's get on with the story that I'm going to tell y'all tonight. Now, this happened to me probably 10, 12 years ago. And I'm sure that most of y'all have heard of the Body Farm. Now, if you haven't heard of the Body Farm, I want you to search that on YouTube. What that is the college, the University of Tennessee, owns some property out in the woods. And their anthropology department, they take cadavers, dead bodies, donated, and they take them out there and they put them in all kinds of situations. They'll put them in the trunk of a car, they'll lay them on top of the ground, they'll halfway bury them, they'll put them in water, put them in a barrel. I mean, you know, just to see how they decay. And this goes on to help the police force later when they find bodies. They can tell how long they've been out in the weather, you know, how they've been exposed and so forth. Well, everybody kind of knows where the Body Farm is. It's got a big gate around it. It's in the woods, and to get to it, you have to drive. But if you go to UT Hospital, the parking lot, there is a trail that cuts through the woods because that hospital borders the property that the Body Farm's on. And like I say, you can go out this trail and you can go so far. You can't get into the Body Farm, but I was told you can get to the fence that surrounds it. Well, I'd always been curious about that, and I always wanted to see the Body Farm. I guess that's the weirdness in me. So my wife, she was having surgery at this time, and she was at UT Hospital. She had neck surgery. She had a bone fusion in her neck. And later on that evening, as it was getting dark, after she'd come out of her surgery, I was just going to let her rest and sleep. You know, she was heavily sedated. I told her I was going to go outside and stretch and walk around and, you know, sort of look around. And I had every intention on finding that trail. I'd done looked on Google Earth, and I knew where the Body Farm was from the hospital parking lot. I just had to find a way to get there. So sure enough, I found an old trail going through the woods, and I had to take it. I had to find out, you know. It wasn't wore down very good, but it was wore down. So I head out the trail, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty long walk, pretty lengthy trail to get to where I need to go. And it's starting to get dark. And it's getting dark on me, and then the forest canopy that you have to walk through sort of made it even worse. So I'm walking through there, you know, and I'm kind of nervous. You know, there's probably 20, maybe 30 dead bodies just scattered around there, you know, laying everywhere. And the closer I get, the more nervous I get. And number one, nobody's supposed to be around there. They'll put you in jail if you go anywhere near it. And I knew that. But still, I was trying to be careful. So I went as far as I could until I got to a fence. And just over that fence, the trail took a curve, and you could see where it opened up, and I knew that was the Body Farm. I even think I caught a stench of it. I'm not trying to be macabre, but standing there a few times I thought I did. And it's at this point, when I'm standing there, that I hear something. And I hear, sounds like somebody talking. And I know that none of the UT staff or anybody is over there. You know, it's dark now. And I know it's not anybody over there that's doing any kind of studies. And I know it's gated and it's locked. And there's even security guards on the road that you drive up to it. So I got to listening, and I could hear a conversation going on faintly. I'd pick up a few words here and there. So I started listening. It sounded like it was two men and maybe two different women, or a woman and a child. And I was listening to this conversation, and I could hear one of the women say, "I don't know where they're at. They were with me when I left." And that's what it sounded like to me they said. And somebody else, another voice said, "Do you know this place?" And I'm thinking, am I really hearing this, or am I losing my mind? And a few minutes went on, and I'm listening, and then I heard what sounded like a god-awful scream, like somebody was being hurt, being killed. I mean, it put chills down my back when I heard that scream. And I knew right then and there it's time for me to leave. After I'd heard that, I'd seen enough and heard enough, got as close as I could to the body farm, and it was time to leave. Well, that's when I got the scare of my life. I heard something coming down the trail behind me. And I thought, oh my Lord, what is this now? Because it's not in the best neighborhood. There's not really a neighborhood around there, but that side of town's not the best. And lo and behold, here come a flashlight, and here come a man, and it was a security guard. He shines that light in my eyes, and he commenced to bawling me out, wanting to know, what are you doing out here? Basically, you're trespassing. You can be fined. You can go to jail. I mean, he's really raking me over the coals here. And I was honest with him. I told him, I said, well, curiosity got the best of me. I hadn't planned on going over this fence or anything. I said, my wife's in the hospital, neck surgery, and I just wanted to look and see what was going on. And I said, but if nobody's supposed to be over there, I said, if you'll listen, you'll hear somebody talking. And somebody was screaming over there just a minute ago. He looked at me. He said, so you heard somebody talking and somebody scream? I said, yes, sir, I sure did. I said, I was just getting ready to leave from here when you come along, and I said, I ain't got no plans coming back. Well, he stood there for a few minutes, and he looked, and he sort of listened, and you could hear somebody talking. And I said, there you go. I said, you hear that? He looks at me, and he says, I don't hear nothing, son, let's go. I could see it in that man's eyes. He wanted to leave. So we leave. And as I'm walking back through there, and I'm apologizing to him, please don't put me in jail. I'm just trying to kill time. I was bored. And I could tell he had something else on his mind. I said, you really didn't hear nobody over there? I said, you've been security guard and all. I'm not trying to lie to you. I'll help you out if I can, if somebody's over and they're not supposed to be over there, I'm telling you. And he goes on to tell me then, hey thou son, he said, every time I come down here, I hear that. He said, I hear people talking. He said, I hear people crying. He said, I've heard people ask, where's my leg? What's happened to me? And he said, I don't know. I can't explain it. And he said, I don't come out here unless I see somebody go down the trail. He said, I saw you go down the trail from the guard shack, from the golf cart. He said, I dreaded coming after you then because it's dark. And he said, I'm not telling you all this to try to scare you, to keep you away from there. He said, they're going to be putting up another fence up here to the parking lot to keep people from going down through there. He said, but I've heard some crazy, scary stuff out that way too. And he went on to tell me that he had heard the screaming and he'd heard crying. He said he'd heard singing, He said, I've heard it all, and I know there ain't nobody over there. And he tells me he can't explain it neither. He don't know what it is, or he don't know what's going on. But he really wished they wouldn't, do the body farm right there. He really didn't like working around that or anywhere near it. Now, he said, of the daytime, you don't hear nothing. And he said, and it's not every night that you hear something. But he said, there's certain nights. I guess if the moon's right or whatever, that you'll hear people talking and people carrying on out there. And I've never forgot that. That stuck with me every time I hear something on the body farm. Like I say, I watched that video on YouTube, and it's pretty graphic. If you all watch, look for it and watch it, it's pretty graphic. They don't hide a whole lot. These bodies been laying out on the ground, and it's not age restricted on YouTube neither. But I recommend y'all check that out. But yeah, that was my visit, as close as I could get to the body farm. And I never did want to go back. I remember I stayed down there with my wife that night in the hospital. I tried to sleep in one of them chairs, and it seemed like every time I'd nod off, I could hear those people talking, hear it in my head and hear it in my mind. I got to thinking they followed me back. Oh Lord, what am I going to do now? They're going to follow me home. But luckily none of that happened. I think it was just my mind, playing tricks on me after I'd been over there. But I'd told a few people about that, and everybody I told more or less allowed that I was lucky I just didn't go to jail. Don't worry about voices and hearing all that. I was just lucky I didn't go to jail. But there's no houses around it. There's, where you would mistake somebody of being outside or having a picnic or anything else. There is nothing around that place. If you look on Google Earth, if you search UT Hospital, and from the lower parking lot, you'll see a set of woods. And right out there in those woods, that's the body farm. That's where that happened to me at. And I ain't never going to forget it as long as I live. Anyhow, guys, let me get off from here. And I don't want to leave you all thinking that there's nothing after we die, or that it's like that after we die, because I don't believe that for one bit. I believe we move on from this world. But at the same time, there's always something that you can't explain, that you just don't know what is, I got some of my friends who are Cherokee Indians, and some of their belief makes sense. They believe that, now I don't know if they all believe this, but the ones that are my friends, they believe that when you die, if you make it into heaven, you can't take the sin with you, the bad part. Everybody's got a bad part. Some are bigger than others, some are worse than others. That part stays behind. That part stays here on earth. It can't go in the heavenly gates. It's not allowed. So what happens to it? It stays here on the earth, walks the earth. You created that over your lifetime, or you helped build onto it, add onto it, and then you leave it behind when you leave. So that's why a lot of times people think that, they see ghosts in a person's image and stuff. And that's what my friends believe. The Cherokee buddies believe that that's what you left behind, that you manifested within yourself. We're all born with sin, but then you can add on to it. So that's where they think a lot of these spirits and ghosts come from. I don't know. I have no idea. I just know there's things out there in these old mountains that you can't explain. There ain't no explanation for the things you see, the things you hear. These mountains are spooky. They're beautiful, but once you get off the bright lights of the strip of Gatlinburg, and you get off the pavement up there, and you get back there where there's no light at all, and it's dark and there's nothing but smoke and fog billowing, man, I tell you what, you'll hear some of the ungodliest sounds and see some of the weirdest things that you've ever seen in your life. So stay on the trails and don't go with the nighttime. Guys, I'm gonna hop off from here. I'll try to catch up with y'all later. I know y'all fuss at me because I don't post enough, so I've got plenty to say. I just ain't got the time to say it. But I love you guys, and I'll get back in here and holler at you. Y'all's like family to me. I'll catch you on the rebound. Thank y'all.